All right, hello everyone. How are you doing? It is Kristi. It is Sunday, and it's time for Social Science Sunday. All right, just checking this out. I'm running late as usual. I don't know why I can't be on time on a Sunday, but I've got a really exciting show lined up for y'all today. It's actually going to be a little bit different than planned because I am going to have to. Sorry, let me pop out the chat here so I can see y'all. I started off with one article over here, but then this article referenced an earlier article, and so we're going to have to go back to the beginning. Oh, I guess you could listen here, but we're going to listen on a different program. So hey, yeah, just before we start off, I want to say hi to my peeps in the chat. This is a little bit small, so can I big you all up? Make that text a bit bigger? That's a little too big. That's a little too big. Yeah. So, hey, hello, Flint. How are you doing? I hope you are having a sane weekend, I guess. You know, with all the stuff going on in the world, it's a little bit difficult to try to keep perspective sometimes, you know, because it's easy to get really focused in on things you have no control over. So, yeah, I hope you are doing well. Easy7, by the way, was the one who put me on to this. So thank you very much for your contributions in the Discord. Yeah, by the way, there is a link to my Discord. It's only just starting. It doesn't have that much activity, but I'm hoping to use it more often. And so the link is still good, I think, until today. And what I'll do is I'll put in links, you know, sort of like from week to week so that they're not just open-ended and people can go back and just join from 4 or 5 years ago. So hello, A to the K. Hope you are doing well. And yeah, it's Po Mama Sid. Good to see you. I saw Trans Gamer Girl in there as well. Good to see you. And D and Fan, thank you all for stopping by in the morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. If there's anyone I missed, Po Mama Sid, did I mention you? Thank you for your time and attention. So, all right, you know how we've been looking at the very thoughtful sociological perspective on the philosophy of social science, its goals in terms of understanding humans, human society, human cultures, individuals within a society, and oh, hello. Oh, look at this, Angus. Sorry, we've got to interrupt for some Angus news here. Happy that they got accepted to an honors course in political science at your local uni. Congratulations. You are going to be well prepared when it comes to some of the philosophical ideas that you're going to deal with. So, hey, Angus, can we just get a round of applause in the chat? We know we all love our nerds here. We bond over our common nerdiness. And so, yes, I rejoice in your happiness. I completely rejoice in your success. And I hope that you enjoy it and you find it inspiring and thrilling and carry it forward. So fantastic. All right. Yeah, so we're going to look at the woke fragility article now. So the link to this is that Easy7 in my Discord posted this article that is by King Crocoduck. So let me first establish the authenticity of the train of authorship here, because it doesn't say King Crocoduck, right? And if you look at it, it doesn't say that he's got a YouTube channel. However, if you cross-reference Karamazov or Ivan Karamazov with King Crocoduck, you end up with a link here. This is a Sargon video from 2016, where he's discussing Ivan Karamazov of YouTube channel King Crocoduck. So this is not like we're misattributing the authorship of this paper here. So I don't know if we're going to get through both articles in one day, because King Crocoduck is so unnecessarily verbose in his writing. But what I do want to look to here is the complete hypocrisy of the series of assertions he makes and the evidence he presents or doesn't to support it. So what I'm going to accuse him of basically here is hypocrisy. That the kinds of actions he's accusing people who he calls, like the woke folk of doing is actually everything he's doing in his article. It's all projection, right? He is not rigorous. He does not present, like citations and demonstrate his claims while making accusations and, casting character assassination on the aspersions of others. All right. Now, am I going to read this? No. I got I have too much. Like, we have technology now, and we're going to let technology liberate us. I'm not going to do the thing here on Medium because I don't want to support like its article at all. So I've copy and pasted the text of it into this free text to speech online thingy, and so we're going to listen to this. So people in the chat, here is your assignment. All right. So let's look at all of the ways in which King Crocoduck basically uses his fifis, his emotions, and his lived experience without any reference to like systemic racism or facts outside of himself in order to make accusations about what other people do, think, or say. All right, so are we ready? Are we ready? This is going to be fun. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hit play. I'm going to check the audio, make sure it's all working for us. And then, yeah, we're just going to kind of let it run. And if you have comments, or if I have comments, I'll jump in. So let's do a little test here. I should have done this beforehand, but I was making coffee. Let's see if we can hear this. It's thinking. There's a lot of words in this article. Oh, it's spinning, spinning, spinning. I think it was like a 21-minute read, according to the article.
Because of the unavailability of rational or empirical answers to certain challenges posed by potential dissidents.
All right, so based off internal evidence, Kara is never Crocoduck. Crocoduck couldn't write that well. No, I guess if you look, I disagree. Crocoduck has a specific style. I've unfortunately listened to too many of his videos in order to kind of get a sense of it. So he starts off with some declarations of what he intends to do. And then he tends to not give very... he doesn't steelman his opponent at all. He basically strawmans his opponent in his content. So that is characteristic of him. The second thing that's characteristic of him is that he tends to give like 3 or 4 examples when one would do. And he tends to go off on tangents in a deep way that doesn't relate to the main theses. So these things are always, you know... so I think that there is good reason to, and it also just matches King Crocoduck's anti-racism perspective. So, and everyone heard that, right? It looked like it was going through. If not, I will start it again because we're going to listen to the whole thing. All right, unless people don't hear it, write in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to assume you can. And we're going to go ahead. And this is, you know, again, not very professional, not showing even an attempt to present now I say neutral critique, but a fair critique. He's already using propaganda and images to characterize and caricature his opponents. So it's lazy. Oh, Kristi. Okay, Kristi, all right. I mean, when you've listened to 4 hours of King Crocoduck, then come back and we'll talk about it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that there's good empirical evidence to think that this is King Crocoduck. Okay, so let's have a listen.
Because of the unavailability of rational or empirical answers to certain challenges posed by potential dissidents.
That's an empirical statement. Sorry. That's an empirical statement that requires a citation. Okay? That's his opening. Okay, I'm already started. All right, let's keep going.
Because of the unavailability of rational or empirical answers to certain challenges posed by potential dissidents, woke folk are forced to retreat behind their woke fragility whenever serious challenges are issued against their ideology.
Okay, now in a piece like this, you can get away with setting something up if you're going to provide your references for it later. Like you really should, in this case, have some sort of pointing toward empirical events. But let's just give some charity here and say that this is the introduction section. And so we're going to expect that the things that are pointed to thank you, Flint Reed, for the confirmation. Things that are pointed to in the introductory paragraphs are going to be more fully substantiated and developed later on in the piece. Let's just say that. Well, let's hope it doesn't start from the beginning again.
Woke folk are forced to retreat behind their woke fragility whenever serious challenges are issued against their ideology. In this essay, I will explain what woke fragility is, outline some of its main properties, and develop the basic theory for how it functions to maintain and protect woke ideology.
Okay, so this is the question. When we get to the bottom of the page, when we get to the end of the article, we can ask ourselves, do we know with with like reference to the outside world, what woke fragility is. Do we have citations and sources and examples that demonstrate its main properties? And do we have a referenced theory for how it functions to maintain and protect an ideology? These are the benchmarks that the author is setting out. And so these are the things we can look at the end in order to see whether or not it's accomplished what it set out to do.
This essay owes its existence to Robin DiAngelo's seminal 2011 paper on white fragility, without which my theory of woke fragility would have been impossible to formulate.
All right, so in this case, I think we're going to have to skip down. I was going to reread it again. That's one citation from 2011. This piece was written in 2020. That's not a lot. If you're going to talk about an entire movement and characterize a whole group of people, you need more than like one paper from 2011 from one person to do that. So let's see if he actually reaches outside of Robin DiAngelo. And isn't Robin DiAngelo like a white woman? Like, I don't really know. I don't keep track of her. Like, I know she's very controversial, but I think that's... So, I mean, again, he's not dealing with any true critics here. He's talking about like one person who's quite well known for her hot takes, shall we say. American, I don't know. Anyway, so we're not talking about a wide swath of critical theorists in any sense of the word. All right, so let's continue on. Hey, PZ, by the way, hey, everyone. PZ Myers has just put out a video. Oh, you've only missed the first paragraph, PZ. Don't worry about that. If you want to do a SmackDown, you can come on live. We've got a second article after this. But PZ just put out a video. I think it's like how I became an evil atheist. I saw that in my subscription feed last night. So after this show is done, go, if anyone wants to put that link in the chat for PZ, big fan of PZ's work. So mutual like uplift in here. All right, we're gonna start with his definition. Let's see how well sourced his definition is.
This essay owes its existence to Robin.
Oh God, this thing. All right, here we go.
This essay, I define woke fragility here as discomfort and defensiveness of the part of a woke person when confronted with information about racial inequality and injustice that isn't flattering to their worldview.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's he's basically making up his own definition of a thing here with no reference to the outside world. It's just his feelings. Remember the irony of this. He is just talking about his lived experience of interactions or his perceptions of woke people or woke folk, right? This definition is not adequate. It's not cited, it's not sourced, it's not based in any kind of empirical reference. You know, this is sloppy. This isn't scientific work. Like, this is sloppy conceptualization. It's more about emotions, right? But it's not about facts. Oh. Come on, go.
Worldview. Woke fragility is a state in which even a minimum amount of empirical or analytical stress on woke ideology becomes intolerable, triggering a range of defensive moves. These moves...
Again, citation needed. Where is this, other than he's fifis, other than his super fragile fifis, where is it? He's just offering opinion. This isn't, opinion isn't a definition. You know, a definition has to be linked operationally to things in the world. And he's not providing, and I tell you, he won't provide any examples. He's going to use this code phrase woke folk to basically mean brown people and their white allies. And he provides no evidence. No, it's just basically fifis. It's fifis. Okay.
These moves include the outward display of emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behavior such as argumentation, silence, leaving the stress-inducing situation, and worst of all, satire.
Why is satire why is the worst of all satire? Okay, all right, for those of you who are still in school or still writing, can I give you a piece of advice that my PhD supervisor gave me when I kind of had to, step up into my master's program? If you say, this thing is interesting, you have to explain why it's interesting. You can't just assert something has a characteristic and then not justify it. You know, of particular interest. Why is it of particular interest? Right? Why would satire be the worst of all? Is that a joke? Is he being satirical in his citation of satire, or is this true? So I just want you again. What empirical or analytical stress is he? You know, like is he putting forth for his own position? None. And he is becoming defensive, angry, filled with guilt and fear, and behavior such as argumentation, silence, straw manning people. Croc. So as we can see, this is not intellectually or conceptually or like reference-wise rigorous at in any levels here. And you go, oh yeah, it's a Medium article. I don't care. You still have standards. There are still standards of referencing and good writing and good argumentation. You don't throw all those out the window and just go with your fifis because it's a Medium post if you want to be convincing.
Woke folk in Western institutions operate in social environments that protect and insulate them from sources of empirical or analytical stress against woke ideology. This state of ideological comfort is typically referred to as an echo chamber and is a feature of woke privilege.
Okay, so now we've got this term woke privilege. I like how it keeps calling it woke. It's woke. Yeah, get Uncle Roger in here about your woke privilege. What is that called? The steam that comes off of it? Walk high or something? Anyway, hello, again, a bunch of empirical assertions that have no reference, no citations in the real world. It's all feeling. Woke folks seldom operate outside of these ideological... Okay, so again, a bunch of unsupported assertions based in feeling and bias. When he is accusing his opponents, his unnamed opponents, unsourced opponents, of doing the same thing. This is all like in his head. This is not linked to reality in any way whatsoever.
This state of ideological...
Oh, all right, here we go. Let's go here.
This state of ideological comfort is typically referred to as an echo chamber and is a feature of woke privilege. Woke folks seldom operate outside of these ideological echo chambers, and when they do, it is usually only temporary. These insulated environments of ideological privilege serve to condition woke expectations for ideological comfort while simultaneously reducing their capacity to tolerate ideological stress. For many...
Again, a whole bunch of things that he doesn't substantiate. This is all like fifis. See what you guys are saying here in the chat, because I'm uncomfortable about racism, about lots of things, yes. Let's see. Al is a lib. It's based against the right. I don't know. The sentence should begin, I believe. Oh, we can even talk about like the grammar levels later. I'm just thinking more substance based here. The witness. So the wokes took his right to say slurs, treat whole classes of people like garbage, and be socially validated for it. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the whinings of the lived experience of someone who enjoys white male privilege, cis white male privilege, and thinks that his position is the default position and other people are wrong, not reflecting all on the fact that his criticisms can be more seriously leveled against him. PZ says, I know for a fact that many people are made uncomfortable by science. That doesn't mean science is wrong. Yes, precisely. He's making allegations here. He's not dealing with the reality. And whenever people are, their assumptions of how the world works are challenged, there is discomfort there. This isn't unique to woke folks, who again are just this vague collective of bad people. I can handle a lot, but satire is where I draw the line. And because of that, this is a crime against science, nature, and reason. God, too. How is argumentation evidence of fragility? Surely the willingness and ability to respond to criticism is not in itself a sign of fragility. Obviously, the fragile one is not him. Seems like a lot of effort. Okay. So this is gonna take forever. So I really do need to shut up and let's get through this.
For many woke folk, most of whom are liberal arts graduates.
I'm sorry, again, citation needed. What do you think? People like, all people who are woke have gone to college? people's lived experiences are the grounds for this reaction against systemic white supremacy. I know I said I wasn't going to talk, but it's just ridiculous. What he's, kind of going for here is that woke folk are what? Sort of this vague group of POC, but then also these white liberals. I mean, all right, okay.
For many woke folk, most of whom are liberal arts graduates, a single required quantitative course taken in college, or a mandatory analytic competence module as an entrance requirement into the workplace, is the only time
What
they may
garbage.
encounter that set of cognitive resources which could potentially be marshaled to challenge their ideological perspective. But even in this arena, few courses and training programs pertaining to the development of empirical and analytical skill sets talk directly about how such skills can be used to challenge ideologies generally, and almost never discuss woke privilege specifically.
Woke privilege?
The reasons.
Again, he's not defined woke privilege. He's talked about woke fragility. So conceptually, this is just a house of cards and garbage, which I'm not at all surprised at. Again, more empirical assertions that have no basis in reality. I mean, when you talk about liberal arts graduates, you talk about liberal arts colleges, because, the social sciences are pretty much and critical theory come out of the social sciences, not so much the humanities. So does he mean getting a Bachelor of Arts here? Yes. And how do you know the course content across a series of colleges? You don't, again, just the overconfidence of a mediocre white man vibe that I'm getting off of this. I can just pontificate and you have to accept what I say. That's not how it works. He doesn't like liberal arts education. He's an example of someone who can have really used a little more breath in his education. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I'm glad, A to the K, you're liking my text-to-speech. I'm glad. I was not going to read all this out. I have things to do. So we're probably not, by the way, we're not going to get through both articles today, so this will be a part 2. We'll do part 1 this week. We'll do part 2 next week. Okay, so lies. I'm going to just call these lies. This is BS. I'm calling BS on this. I'm throwing a flag. Increasingly, people in the social sciences are dealing with data handling, data cleaning, creating empirical models that we can use and operationalize to find things in the real world. He sounds like he's in a bubble, like he's not really gotten out of his bubble to do any research beyond his navel in this. So let's keep going.
The reasons as to why the facilitators of these courses and trainings may not directly name the dynamics and beneficiaries of woke ideology range from the lack of a valid analysis of the topic by woke facilitators, who are often oblivious to the existence of serious empirical and analytic challenges to their ideology, personal and economic survival strategies for facilitators of color, whose claim to racial authenticity is often held hostage by woke folk who punish dissenters with slurs like Uncle Tom, House Negro, and self-hating minority,
Garbage.
and the overall pressure from management to keep the content comfortable and palatable for woke folk, who historically have been known to pillory those who offer even mild suggestions that challenge woke ideology, as in the cases of the Larry Summers scandal at Harvard in 2005 and the incident surrounding James Damore's Google memo in 2017. However,
Okay, that was one hell of a long run-on sentence. I don't know if you noticed that, but that sentence was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines long. You could break that up a bit. Also, a bunch of unsupported assertions again. He's not talking about, even if he's talking about in America or in Australia or in Europe or anywhere, it's just this sort of global overview, a series of accusations. And again, this piece was written in 2020, and his 2 examples are from Larry Summers scandal in 2005 and the James Damore Google memo, which that guy got in trouble for a reason. I don't know what the Larry Summers scandal thing is in 2005. Let's just take a quick look at this. PZ. I shouldn't think and type and paste at the same time. PZ says, I'm one of those woke folk. I got a fairly solid grounding in math, statistics, and quantitative science. Yeah, exactly. I've just published a piece on how to handle big data in order to do, like, valid analysis and harmonizing big data sets. But, I'm so woke. All right. So, okay. Oh, right. Why Women Are Poor at Science by the Harvard president. Yeah, that's not woke, right? The president of Harvard has provoked a furore by arguing that men outperform women in maths and science because of biological differences. And discrimination's no longer a career barrier. Wow, I love it when overprivileged guys who don't have to face sexism decide that discrimination against women is over. That's great. I loved being mansplained about discrimination from people who don't experience it. The summer scandal was an administrator telling a bunch of women in science that they weren't biologically suited. Yeah, to do science. Girls play with dolls, boys play with trucks. Yeah, and apparently this is people who offer mild suggestions that challenge woke ideology. Biological essentialism that women, can't do science. It's just... They're so offended. So you can see, patriarchy, white supremacy, that whole thing is lining up again in King Crocoduck. You got that whole far right unjustified hierarchies, sexism, bigotry, and racism. Anything that makes a privileged white guy who gets by on his privilege, not on his merit, uncomfortable, when you point out that he's had an easier ride, oh no, that's your problem. I knew some of the women in that audience. They were righteously outraged. Yeah, and obviously so. And what does Larry Summer knows about this issue, right? Okay, so let's move beyond this 9-line run-on sentence to the next bit of garbage.
However, if and when an educational program does directly address woke ideology and the privileging of woke folk, common woke responses include anger, withdrawal, emotional incapacitation, guilt, argumentation, and cognitive dissonance. These reactions are often seen in educational and discursive.
Oh, I don't know why I'm sorry. I don't know why they skipped this bit. Again, this is garbage. This is all unsubstantiated garbage. He's claiming to know the emotional insides, right? So this is it, because we're going to build on this when he tries to criticize lived experiences. Isn't he getting all of his perspectives and opinions and views from his lived experience? Is he going outside of himself to read other people's works, understand their perspective, and cite them and put them in juxtaposition with his own view? Or is he solely navel-gazing here and relying on his expertise of what he perceives in order to, in this case, he's not even speaking to the expertise of his own experience of interacting with woke people. He is projecting his fantasy of what is happening in their minds and strawmanning them, creating this sort of boogeyman figure, boogie person creature that he can just malign and seem superior to. I mean, so... let's see. Flint says, it is possible I've never seen Croc that it's actually Sargon using a voice simulator. It all seems a bit rhetorical and samey. No, I mean, this video is actually King Crocoduck and Sargon talking. And this has the kind of run-on sentencey characteristics of King Crocoduck, believe me. Now, if it's... and Sargon is not this coherent. I mean, for all his faults, King Crocoduck can string together words in a way that makes sense. He's not efficient, he's not parsimonious, and he's not well referenced or well sourced. But I'm sure he writes better than Sargon. So, is this a rant? Of course, it's a rant. That doesn't mean it's not him. But not that you're saying that A to the K. All right. And of course, if this isn't King Crocoduck, I'm sure he'll have a little temper tantrum all over the internet about how I'm mischaracterizing him. And if that's the case, I'll withdraw the criticisms and I'll just direct it at the person who did write this. But again, the links are there, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. All right.
These reactions are often seen in educational and discursive endeavors as forms of resistance to the challenge of internalized dominance.
Again, I just want to say citation needed after every assertion, because this is criminally under-referenced. Just FYI.
These reactions do indeed function as resistance, but it may also be useful to conceptualize them as the result of the reduced psychosocial stamina that ideological insulation inculcates. I call this lack of ideological stamina woke fragility. Although...
Okay, so wait a minute. He's defining here as the discomfort and defensiveness of the part. Isn't it on the part? Of the part of a woke person when confronted with information about racial equality and injustice that isn't flattering to their worldview. All right, but that's not very well constructed, but okay, so there's one definition. Well, then he also has a second one here. The lack of ideological stamina is woke fragility. Wait, so what is it? Is it the lack of ideological stamina, which is like a metric that nobody except the author seems to understand? Or is it the discomfort and defensiveness when they are confronted with information that isn't flattering to their worldview? I mean, if you can't figure out what your own definition is and stay consistent within your piece, your own piece, why should anyone believe you? And of course, you're using this woke privilege, which has remained to this point 5 paragraphs in, still undefined. So obviously, like, this is not well written. It's a crappy first draft, maybe? Maybe a crappy first draft. It's bloated. It's repetitive. It's self-contradictory. So I don't know why this got published, but anyway. Okay, so let's start the next section. We really got to get going on this.
Although mainstream definitions of ideology are typically some variation of individual biases, which anyone of any worldview can have, critics of what...
Well, I don't know if that's right. Again, mainstream definitions of ideology, why didn't you just give some? I have a different mind, ideology. See, this is the kind of work you do in a peer review to, like, point out why someone did poorly. Define. A system, yeah, there's nothing here about bias. It's a system of ideas and ideals, especially one which forms the basis of an economic or political theory and policy, right? A manner or the contents of thinking, oh no, not, here we go. Let's think about it. A systematic body of concepts, especially about human life or culture. Okay. Can you go back? Yes. Anything else we can get here? Sociologists define ideology as... Oh. Definitions. Here we go. Let's just go back to the summary. I can't be digging around. Define ideology as cultural belief that justify particular social arrangements, including patterns of inequality. Okay. So none of these things, no, the mainstream definitions of ideology are not some variation of individual biases at all. Did he look anything up? Did he do any research? I just did a Google search. It didn't take that long. Trans Gamer Girl says you need the Cass Eric's quack citation effect. Maybe there's a conversation I missed. PZ says, also, Casey's a physics student. He needs to learn a little biology. Biology is increasingly dominated by women scientists. Christine, Nasleen Volhard, Jennifer Dudna. He's missing a lot. The witness says, I think he means he has the stamina to perceive systemic injustice against people he already thinks of as inferior as painless. So everyone else is whining. Yeah, when it's not happening to you. Right? This just sounds like a white guy whining. All right. Okay, so no, just no on this one. Cross all that out. That's wrong. Okay, let's go for... I'm trying to find the end of the sentence. All right, we're just going to start from the beginning. Sadly, sorry.
Critics of wokeness define woke ideology specifically as encompassing economic, political, social, and cultural structures, actions, and beliefs that systematize and perpetuate an unequal distribution of privileges, resources and power between woke folk and everybody else. As evidenced, for example, by the differences in the share of cultural influence between subscribers to woke ideology and its dissidents. This unequal distribution benefits woke folk and disadvantages dissidents overall and as a group. Hollywood celebrities, corporate head honchos, esteemed academics, late-night TV comedians, And anchors in most legacy news media organizations are committed to woke ideology, while the suburban middle class and rural members of farming communities are generally not.
So basically what you're saying is white suburbs and white rural areas in farming communities have the vestiges of the white supremacy that drove them, right? White flight. Also, the fact that white families and white immigrants disproportionately were given free land by the government for being white and willing to farm it. So is that what you're saying? Because that's the economic and power structure behind those demographics. What he's saying is that, yeah, like conservative white people are invested in protecting the benefits that white supremacy is given to them. That's not really a surprise, is it? And also, there's a whole lot of, if he had done his research properly, he would actually be able to back some of this up. I mean, I don't know about the late night comedians and academics and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, generally, if you get into more affluent areas of the suburbs, where and also into rural areas that are pretty homogeneous when it comes to white populations, you have higher rates of basically racism than you get in cosmopolitan areas. All right, moving on.
And anchors in most legacy news. This balance of power is not fluid in the Western world. It does not flow back and forth, one day benefiting woke folk and another day benefiting dissidents. The direction of power between woke folk and everyone else is historic, traditional, normalized, and deeply embedded in the fabric of Western societies, as evidenced by the average differences in net worth between the aforementioned groups.
Anyone have any idea what that's supposed to have anything to do with anything? The direction of power between woke folk and everyone else is woke folk and everyone else. Does he mean brown people? Does he mean black and brown people? Again, these sort of like woke folk references are very coded language and self-contradictory. Because do you think it's a fact that people with liberal arts education are the woke folk here? Or are we talking about POCs who don't live in like the rural areas? I mean, there are POCs, black farmers and whatnot. But this is conceptually just all over the place.
As evidenced by the average differences in net worth between the aforementioned groups. Wokeness itself refers to the specific dimensions of woke ideology that's this definition counts.
Sorry. Wokeness itself refers to the specific dimensions of woke ideology. That seems highly tautological to me. Okay, yeah, Trey Gabriel says Cass is a clinical psychologist with the YouTuber channel Debunk 12 Rules of Life chapter by chapter. Okay, so just FYI. Thanks, Trans Gamer Girl. Yeah, this is all just self-referential conceptual muddle that goes back on itself. So let's hear it one more time.
Wokeness itself refers to the specific dimensions of woke ideology that serve to elevate woke folk over dissidents.
So what it was just like from a writing point of view, he's waited this long to define wokeness, even though he's like mentioned it. Okay, and again, this is just made up definitions.
Wokeness itself this definition counters the behaviors that some individuals may or may not demonstrate, such as legacy news media. Maliciously misreporting on the conduct of the Covington Catholic students in 2019 and goes beyond naming specific privileges, like being able to deride entire racial and ethnic groups without facing occupational penalties, as in the controversies that have previously surrounded the New York Times editor Sarah Jong and The Daily Show host Trevor Noah. Woke folk are
what? Did anyone understand that? I did not. I did not understand that at all. That was completely incoherent to me. Completely incoherent.
And this essay will focus on one aspect of wokeness and its effects, woke fragility.
Okay, I use the term woke and wokeness to describe a social process. Is meaningless. The stream cut out? Okay. Yeah, my internet's crappy. I'll wait. Yeah, I don't know what to do about this. I changed providers. Yeah, I'll wait till it goes green. I've changed providers, and I thought it would get better, and it seems to have gotten worse. I might have to go back to my other one. Right. So it's still flashing orange and yellow, so I'm going to wait a hot second here and hope that my internet sucks. I'm going to have to complain. Yeah, it's still going. Maybe I'll cut this bit out. I'm also kind of loud, so I'll back that off a bit. I can see that the CPU's going, and I can see the kilobytes per second, and that it's being a bit crap. Yeah, King Crocoduck, for all his love of empiricism, he's not really up with it. It's still looking pretty bad. My connection, by the way. And all my other units are off, so I'm not entirely sure. It's not, it's just a bad internet thing. I'm going to have to complain. All right, am I still choppy, y'all? I'm trying to wait for a little bit to see if it will go from orange and red into yellow and green at least. But the kilobytes are pretty low. So can you tell me if am I still choppy? I'll write it in the chat in case you can't hear me. I'm not provided. That's right, PC. Yep. Now it still looks terrible. I'm so bummed. In Australia, you're connected by cans and a piece of string. Yeah, so A to the K, okay. I'm still a bit choppy. All right, tell you what, I'm going to give you, I'll have a look at I'll go look at it. I'll go look and stare. So I'll just switch you over to the opening. I'll switch you over to the opening and my audios are fine. Okay, so then I'll switch you over to the opening and I'll go check my internet. Okay, so according to the unit, it's fine. And definitely missing bits of audio. Okay, we're gonna call it a day. I'm gonna see if I can sort this stuff out with my service provider. But come back next week, right? We'll finish this. We know that we're basically gonna pick it up from. Yeah, woke fragility manifests when empirical and analytical stress is applied to woke ideology, okay? Again, none of this is empirically justified, but we're going to come back and look at it anyway. All right, sorry my internet was bad, y'all, and thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed part 1. This might end up being a 4-part series, by the way, that this is going. And yeah, we will talk again next Sunday. So, have a wonderful week. Be happy. Be healthy, be safe wherever and whenever you are. Come join me again next Sunday. We'll carry on with the saga of King Crocoduck's poorly sourced article. And we will, until next time, I've been Kristi. You've been awesome. We'll see each other again really soon. Okay? Bye.